I have been using Redder's mortgage company data since the beginning of this year nonstop, and I've already noticed some really important things. I've created a weekly report that I'm going to be sharing with you that I haven't seen anywhere else in our industry. Once you see it, you're not going to look at or measure companies in the same way. In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest gainers on the independent mortgage side, brokers, as well as banks and credit unions, and biggest losers over the last week in the same channels. Let's get locked in and get into it. This isn't the channel where we spend time talking about theory or what ifs. We're just going to get straight into the action, starting with the three gainers on the independent mortgage bank side. So Zillow Home Loans does not count. They're mostly online presence, right? They're not focused on purchase-based business with referral-based loan originators in communities. So number one coming in this week is New American Funding. So New American Funding net gaining 30 loan op. Well, no, it wasn't 30. That was Zillow. Net gain, no, 30, sorry. 30. Wow, that's a lot. So we're going to see if gaining that many originators also translates directly into an increase in production, and it does because it's a lot of originators to net, right? They gained 44, lost 14, so net gain of 30 originators for $40 million, just shy of $40 million annualized production. We're going to see how many $10 million plus producers are coming in. It's a way to kind of measure how well a company is doing at attracting top talent or losing top talent. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go down to 9 million, right? Because it could be two loans that for some reason aren't counted, right? So 7 $10 million plus producers coming in to New American Funding this last week. And let's see how many people left. Big producer leaving, actually. MLD Mortgage, I think that's a broker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, four $10 million plus producers leaving New American Funding. Could have been better if they retained some talent, but you can see here that's actually, so it's good. I would say 40 million is good, right? It's not fantastic and it's not okay. It's probably good gain over a week, right? New American Funding is one of the top 10 IMBs in the country. Let's look at them quickly, just stock it out, chart it out real quick, okay? So in the last 2 weeks, they've grown by $240 million annualized production. In the last month, 866 million, quarter, 1.7 billion, 6 months, 1.96 billion, and in the last year, $2.58 billion. New American Funding, charted out, right, is one of the companies that has been performing really well. They're gaining a lot of people. They're also losing a lot of people, right? Like if you even look at the last month, right, they've lost 89 people. And I just want to make sure that we're, shouting it out. These aren't some smaller producers, right? In just the last, in a very short period of time, a month, to lose some big producers, right? And a lot of $10 million plus producers when you count it out. Gaining though, right? Approaching $900 million annualized production, gaining a lot of people, right? So for what it's worth, they're gaining a lot of people, but I'm just going to point out the trend and let the data speak for itself and let you judge it. They're gaining a lot of people, but they're also losing some people, not losing as many as they're gaining, right? So moving on to number two, we have guaranteed rate with a net gain of 18 loan originators in the last week. And we're going to see if that translates into what kind of increase in production that is, right? Oops, let's switch this to week. Okay, so pretty great week, amazing week, right? $300 million increase annualized production, net gain of 18 loan originators. So big week for guaranteed rate. Bringing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, $10 million plus producers coming in, and a handful of really big producers and one $80 million producer. So that's pretty big. Losing one $10 million plus producers. Guaranteed rate also on a pretty big growth. You chart this out and you kind of look at it. In the last 2 weeks, 313 million, a month up 855 million annualized production, quarter up 1.5 billion. Oops, jumping over to the year. 6 months, 1.82 billion, and in the last 12 months, was that identical to New American Funding? $2.52 billion increase in annualized production for guaranteed rate. Okay, so guaranteed rate having a strong week. Coming in at number 3, CrossCountry Mortgage, usually in the top 3. This time they are number 3. Okay, so net increase of 10 loan originators in the last week. And we're going to see, we have to switch this again. And I just started charting this for you guys. So, now I got to make sure to flow this a little bit better. So net gain of 10 originators in the last week for $94 million annualized production. Let's take a look at who is coming in. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 $10 million plus producers coming into guaranteed rate. Oh, one of them coming from CrossCountry Mortgage. coming into CrossCountry Mortgage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $10 million plus producers coming in to CrossCountry Mortgage. Gonna notice this right off the bat. Lakeview Loan Servicing, right? So this person's coming in because they were a loan officer who handled servicing for Lakeview, right? Because Lakeview is not a mortgage company, they just do servicing. So this person's production will jump in the rabbit hole. Link in the description if you want to check out Redder for your own, like getting an access and having a subscription. This person, it's all refi, it's all equity business, and none of it is referral based like from realtors, right? So not getting any referrals right there. So this is not really a gain, and actually, sorry, lost. My bad. So this person left. I apologize for confusing that, and I need to slow down a little bit here and not have that next cup of coffee, right? No, sorry, it was gained. It was gained. I'm confusing myself now. So it was gained. We're not going to, it's a little bit more of a good week than a great week because, again, I can't really count that. But hey, that is the point if you want your own subscription to Redder so you can dive in these rabbit holes and chase it around to your heart's content. Okay, some honorable mentions because they all tied for 5. So I guess I'll just clump them all together. Okay, Movement Mortgage, net gain of 5 originators, along with Everett Financial is Supreme Lending. American Neighborhood Mortgage is PennyMac. I actually don't know Standard Mortgage Capital, and they are sub $1 billion, almost $1 billion. So they also coming in here for honorable mentions. All right, we're going to move on to brokers. So who is coming in this week in the gainers for mortgage brokers? And let's see, because there were some people I think that broke the trend last week of just because you gained originators doesn't mean you gain production. So Barrett Financial coming in at number 1 with a net gain of 15 loan originators. So in the last week, they gained 15 for $150 million of annualized production. I'm going to say, just because I've noticed it from the previous week as well, this is like the last 2 weeks in a row where they gained a lot of people. And that's not normal for some of these brokerages that just have so many people. You can see how many licenses they have, okay? They have a lot of people. But in the last week, 2 weeks, they've brought in over 100 million, I think both weeks, right? So how many $10 million plus producers coming into Barrett? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to count it. $10 million plus producers coming in. But look, I think this is worth noting, right? C2 Financial, that's their broker, right? Insure Home Loans, they're a broker. They're a broker. I don't know if they're a broker. They're definitely a broker. Their Edge Home is one of the biggest brokers, and that's sneak peek to top losers for this week. Okay. That's very interesting. Barrett is attracting a lot of other brokers into their channel, bigger brokers. Okay. So in the last, Barrett Financial is one of the fastest growing brokers, if not, and they're the largest broker in the country right now. In the last month, they've grown by $471 million annualized production. Quarter, $915 million. 6 months, $1.63 billion. And year, $2.68 billion annualized production growth. Okay. So Barrett Financial Group having a great week this past week. All right. Coming in at number 2, you have the Loan Factory. Loan Factory has a couple of times ended up in the top and the bottom, and they gain a lot of licenses, but let's see if it translates to production. So net gain of 13 originators for 27, almost $28 million annualized production, bringing in one $10 million plus producer and losing probably none. None. Loan Factory having a good week, right? Almost $30 million, $28 million is a good week for Loan Factory. Loan Factory over the last month is actually down 15 million, quarter up 83 million, 6 months up $358 million, and year up $757 million annualized production. Coming in at number 3, we have Primerica Mortgage, also not foreign to the top of the list, but they definitely have hung out on the bottom a couple of times. It's a flat week for Primerica. Gain of 11 originators, but that's like one small loan in Podunk, Ohio. Not all of Ohio is not Podunk. Okay, I live here now in Columbus, and it's cool. But you can buy a house probably for 170. That's just the loan amount, I guess, for what it's worth. It could have been a bigger house, and they just put more money down. Okay, so bringing in nobody, losing nobody. Flat week for Primerica. Over the last month, they are flat. I think they're just flat, right? Quarter flat, 6 months, 3.6 million's flat, and year 1.5 million flat. So Primerica is not growing and they're not shrinking. They're just kind of hanging out. But they are adding, here, I'll point that out. To be flat, but to have added 470 licenses and lost 102. They're adding people and they're adding bodies. They have more loan originators than Barrett, the number one. And I think that says something, right? To have more licenses, to have added 300 in the last year, and to be the same size, that is not a good sign. I will tell you. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have one. I'll let the data speak for itself. Drop your opinion in the comments. I would love your feedback. Okay. Some honorable mentions for this week. I don't know who Think One Mortgage is, but they're hanging out. They gained 10 originators, right? So pretty big honorable mention right there. Think One Mortgage. That's an 8% increase, right? So adding 10 originators is an 8% increase in their annualized production. ML Funding, Denise Donahue moved there, and I didn't know they were a broker. Are they a broker? I didn't know that if they were. I thought they were a direct lender. So somebody help me. Maybe they're broker correspondent, and they're non-delegated correspondent, have their own warehouse lines, but I don't know. But they're gaining. They gained 6 originators over the last week, and Direct Rate, based out of Utah, gaining 6 originators as well. So now we're moving on to the banks. Banks are not as sexy, right? Because again, I say this every single week, but if this is your first time watching, I'll say it again, is banks don't operate like IMBs, independent mortgage banks, or brokers, in that they're very heavily referral based in the communities, working with like referral partners and realtors. The loan officer, you could say, right, is not the same. They don't do the service the same type of business. This business is handed to them, right? They don't earn it. So they make less usually, by the way, as well, if you work at banks or credit unions. So you can see some of the data right here. We see prime lending. Get your own subscription. This week, we're not going to dive into it just because it's not really massively eventful. Okay, I'm feeling bad saying that out loud. So it's like, okay, I want banks to get spotlighted as well. So let's just see. You could say that's flat. So Prime America, flat. Prime lending, flat. What have they done in the last 12 months? 6 months. Last 6 months, they're down 33 million. Last year, they're up 78 million. So they're kind of like, charting out. They're probably ping-ponging around. And then Luminate. I do have some friends at Luminate Bank, and Luminate Bank, they're licensed in 49 states. Are you licensed in New York yet, Luminate? Tell me. Drop it in the comments. Somebody tell me. But they're a federally chartered bank, right? And they operate and give originators who have books of business their own self-generated book of business. So that's a good way to put it, by the way, for banks. Most banks, not self-generated book of business, handed to you. And call centers, right? Like Zillow, you mentioned it earlier. If you have volume and you want to own a P&L, right? Be a branch manager, run a branch, but be at a federally chartered bank, meaning congratulations, you're licensed in all states that the bank is licensed in, and you don't have to get a license for those new states, then here you go. So it's a bad week for Luminate, which is interesting because this said gained. I have a feeling this didn't update. Even though it's supposed to have been updated by this time, when I pulled the data, I was told it should be updated, but it's not. So it's a net loss of 3 originators for $30 million annualized production. And in the last 2 weeks, it's kind of flat, or 15 million. So Luminate, let's look at 6 months. If they're kind of an honorable mention or not more staple, then I'm probably just going to do jump to 6 months and then 12 months. So 6 months, 63 million. And past year, $893 million annualized production increase, which, they're approaching $1 billion increase. So that's pretty good for Luminate Bank. And actually, I will spotlight that. I think it's worth showing that to grow, right, by 54, like they did add more people than they lost, but you can see that the numbers are not like totally disproportionate. Just do math, right? Like they gained 1.27 billion and they lost 372 million of annualized production. So gained, lost. Right, do math. So you can see that it's what I would consider maybe more healthy growth as well. So scrolling down, I did not see any notable companies for the banks in the losers. So now we're transitioning to losers for the past week. Not really seeing any on the banking side. We have Gateway here, -2. Sure, let's look at them. And it's probably, 2 originators. It could be flat or nothing. Could be a big gain. Oh, wow. So the bank data is actually not updated. So I'm just going to have to do a separate email this week sharing with you guys an updated bank side report. But Gateway First actually losing 9 originators for $131 million of annualized. Oh, sorry. That wasn't the last week. That was the last year. It is flat, which is still not updated. Sneaky Redder. Come on, data. Redder, get your data straight. Here I am, like basically endorsing you. Spotlighting you as my research tool. Actually, I think that the gathering is this week. So I know that a number of people are going there, including, I think, some of the people I know at Redder. So now we're switching to losers on the broker side. So we kind of hinted at it earlier. Not a good week for, so we're some of these companies much smaller, right? Like, sure, check it out. Dive in the rabbit hole if you want to. I'm kind of looking for at least like $1 billion, right? And this is a builder, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know why maybe this is a mistake in the data for them to be here, because I don't think they should. But Edge Home Finance, one of the biggest, like literally one of the biggest brokers in the country, losing 3 originators, net loss of 3. But let's see how that impacts production, because just because you lost 3 people doesn't mean it's bad. Perfect example. Bam, nailed it. So net loss of 3 originators, but gain of $41 million annualized production. That's pretty good. Okay, so who came in? A huge producer, right? And a smaller person from Architect. Architect is Benchmark Mortgage. So a big producer coming in, and he wasn't new or previously inactive. I'll rabbit hole this for just 2 seconds so you can see. Okay, this person does all builder business, which is kind of concerning to me, because I don't know if that's going to repeat, because unless it is his builder account. So it could be that this guy is totally a builder, unless he's from Lennar or some other place, because new or previously inactive doesn't mean he's new or was inactive. There's just a gap in his license, and he came from Pulte, right? So 4.6 is when he left, and 4.23 is when he landed at Edge Home Finance. Pulte is not, like, this is not going to repeat for this individual, right? So you look at the production gain here, and honestly, like, I have to take back what I said, because it's not a good week, right? It's arguably a really bad week, because they lost. This is not going to repeat, right? So let's look at who they lost. Edge Home Finance. We know that they lost this $70 million producer right here. So they lost one $70 million producer and didn't replace it yet. So it's actually, they are a loser. They're one of the biggest losers. Edge Home Finance is probably the biggest loser for this last week, unless they get dethroned in, I don't want to say their loserness, because we're not throwing shade. We're looking at the data. Okay. I have friends at most of these companies, and I have friends who are perfectly fine and happy at these companies. Okay. But we're going to let the data speak for itself. Last week, bad week for United American Mortgage. Net loss of 2 originators, not bringing anybody else in. So $28 million annualized production. So 2 producers going to the Turnkey Foundation is Arbor Financial Group, right? So one $10 million plus producer leaving and going to Arbor Financial Group. So you could say that does also, because we see it in here, right? It's a good week for Arbor Financial Group, the Turnkey Foundation. And I did actually see them. I think they were up there in the honorable mentions. If we scroll up here, they were up there. So depending on who those other people were, we'll take a peek, right? Like, I'll give you a bonus. This is the bonus of the week, okay? So last week, it's actually a loss. Wow, with gaining that person, it's still a loss. Why? Losing a bigger producer to another broker, some gentlemen who left Arbor Financial Group to start their own, and actually two companies. Some of them left Arbor, and some of them left West Capital Lending, 2 of the biggest brokers in the country, and starting their own brokerage. So, and then gain, is that reflected in here? It's not. So that is so interesting to me, that individual's, so you got Lacey showing here, but you don't have that other individual, right? If I back up to 2 weeks, would that show if I did 2 weeks? It does now. That's very interesting. So that's just an error with the data, and data is not perfect, right, guys? So if you do it that way, it's not good, right? They're down 10 million, which is meh. Like, it's like the opposite of okay. What's the opposite of okay? Not okay. It's not okay. All right. Now we're moving over to, wait, did we have any more? I think we did. No, we did United American Mortgage. I just don't see, there's not as like $1 billion brokerage that, like, affordable mortgage lenders. I don't know who they are. Okay. So sure, let's throw them in there, and they'll be the last broker that we do for this week. So in the last, well, that's 2 weeks. So let's look at last week, losing 2 for no change. So 2 people who did no production. All right. Now the really fun stuff, just because there's usually a lot more movement. On brokers, there's sometimes not as much movement, but noticing some very big swings here. 2 companies that recently, well, Better has actually lost a number of people in the last couple of weeks. And Absolute Home Mortgage gained a ton of people recently from lower. So 12 people leaving. Biggest loser for this week in the independent mortgage bank side is Absolute Home Mortgage. So 12 individuals leaving Absolute. And let's see if we know where they went yet. So in the last week, net loss of 12 for $55 million of annualized production. You can see right here, $0. So whoever they added has no production. So gaining nobody. And then, they went to Think One Mortgage. So they were an honorable mention as well, and they're a broker. So that obviously explains where that came from. We're going to, we'll add a bonus in here and head it over to Think, because that's a bonus gainer on the broker side. So losing two $10 million plus producers. But you can see from this right here, all these people, and probably the inactives, right? These might be assistants who have licenses, but don't actually do business in their name. So a huge group leaving Absolute and heading to Think One Mortgage. So Think One Mortgage gaining 10 for 55 million, the exact same people we just saw. So let's do two things. Number one, let's look at Absolute in the last 2 weeks, down 53 million, month down 53 million, quarter flat. And this is because of, they gained a lot of people recently, but 6 months is probably where they pick up a little bit. Yeah. $242 million annualized production increase. And then 12 months, 250 million. So $250 million. So it's good, but this is not good recently, right? So they were performing well, but now I would say losing a bigger group maybe hurts them just a little bit. And Think One Mortgage, okay? So how they I'm new to this, right? It says they're based out of New York, right? New York's extremely hard to get licensed in. It's a pain in the butt. I know people who've been trying and who work there. So month are only 44 million. Quarter, not as good over the last quarter at 17 million. 6 months, only 20 million. And year, up 28 million. It's the company has been growing at an okay rate, but they gained. It's arguable. You could say that they've gained as many people as they've lost. 30 million is a small increase, but again, I think if you're not treading water is a losing strategy right now, because it means that maybe what if your current originators aren't increasing production, or maybe they are, but you risk. There's two ways to grow. Help your existing loan officers do more production, which is okay, by the way. I'm all for that. Don't add loan officers. Just help your own. Help your existing employees. Help the people your partners, the people who are already committed to you. Or recruit. That's the other way to grow, and most people focus on that, unfortunately. All right. So next loser we have is Better. So Better.com, Better Mortgage. Net loss of, 9 originators in the last week. And we're going to see grown a lot in the last year, but last week. So losing net loss of 9 originators for a net loss of $54 million of annualized production. So gaining nobody, but losing. So very bad week for Better.com. Let's see. One bigger producer leaving, and we don't know where he's gone yet because it's currently inactive. So were some of these people related as part of that group? I don't know. But one individual leaving. So let's look over the last month. Down 49 million, quarter down 86 million, 6 months up 300 million, year 582 million. Better is performing better, no pun intended, in their most recent quarters when they're not doing well. So they're not doing well in the last quarter, but before that they're kind of trending upward. Now they're kind of sliding down a little bit. All right, and I don't think that there's another big company to spotlight here, so there's just a bunch of honorable mentions. Okay, Mortgage Solutions of Colorado, for what it's worth, they've just continued to lose people over and over and over again. They show up in the bottom. I think there was a week where they showed up in the top, but they have showed up routinely in the bottom in the weekly losers. AP Mortgage is not down here that often, but just making a note of that. Fairway, one of the largest, right? You have 3 of the largest losing a fairly large amount of originators. And let's just do a quick test on if some of that is translating to production, because it's losing bodies, but doesn't mean you lost production. No. So it's actually a good week so they gained 68 million, but lost 52. And then let's check out CMG. And again, these are honorable mentions. I'm not going to dive into them a lot deeper. CMG Mortgage in the last week, not a good week. So gaining 44 million, but losing 84 million for a net loss of 40 million. And then Guild Mortgage. Guild Mortgage has shown up on the bottom a number of weeks. So we've got Guild Mortgage gaining, so good, net loss of 6, but net gain of $22 million annualized production. So good week for Guild Mortgage, gaining 87 million, but losing $65 million of annualized production. All right, guys. So that's it for this week's video. If you made it this far, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and throw in a comment. What's one thing that you took from this video? I'll take advice, feedback, anything, suggestions you have on how to bring you better content on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video.